Is this the worst Star Wars show ever? Yeah, probably. But is this the problem with Star Wars? No. The Acolyte has been criticized by every YouTube channel under the sun, right? We all know this. We've seen countless videos, episode by episode, cataloging everything wrong with the show, ranging from the characters to the acting to the, I don't even know, the cinematography, which is one of my personal gripes with it because it's, you have, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. But although there are so many valid reasons not to like this show, I'm just gonna start with the things that are a little over exaggerated, and then I'm gonna go into the real deeper issues that Star Wars as a whole has, not with just this show, because there's also been problems with the movies and a couple other shows that honestly I skipped. I skipped Boba Fett. I also skipped season 3 of Mando. Whether it was good or not, I just felt like it should have ended at season 2. But regardless, the first overhyped issue with this show is when people talk about its diversity. Now, I will admit this show does feel like it prioritized the diversity over the quality, but there's nothing wrong with having an inclusive show. And I think many people agree with that statement. But I also feel like a lot of people who reviewed the show and stuff like that, they it's kind of like the low hanging fruit. It's the easiest thing to pick at for the show, and there's a lot of things to pick at, but the Acolyte was very clearly made with diversity in mind, and there's nothing quite wrong with it. But when it comes with Star Wars, it doesn't really matter who's playing the characters. It doesn't really, the race of the character doesn't really add anything. It's Star Wars. It's an entire galaxy with aliens and stuff. The race doesn't matter. I wish they chose better actors. If they wanted it to be more diverse, make it diversely better because there's a lot of stiff acting, especially with the main character playing the twins and the dude with the gentrified dreads. Forgot his name. Um, there was just no real passion behind. It felt like there was no soul behind most of the characters. But hey, they're gonna do what they got to do. But I do feel like the diversity aspect, it's more of a surface level issue because if the show was good, I feel like no one would care about it. No one would talk about it. It'd just be like, oh, cool, it's a good show, and it go over people's heads. But I do understand the criticism. I understand, you know, why these things are being said. It's just a little over exaggerated. I don't think the diversity part is, it's basically the least of the worries of this show. And the second overhyped issue is the retcons. And before you crucify me, I don't agree with the retcons. But I also almost don't care because in, I think it was episode 7 where they revealed Kiara Mundi at the end. He said, I don't think he said anything important, but I do believe he was in the, just in the episode in general. I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that they retconned his birthday. Yeah, his birthday or whatever, but I just didn't care. I was like, oh, that's weird. Anyway, and I feel like that stems from nostalgia, and a lot of Star Wars fans just hold on to the purity of it from what George Lucas had, and it's understandable because this is a product of George Lucas himself, arranging for like 35 years from New Hope to Revenge of the Sith. So it's understandable. Tons of people want it to stay the way George Lucas intended and doesn't want it really meddled with, or at the very least, they want the new and quote unquote improved Star Wars to complement and continue what George Lucas wanted. But we are dealing with Disney, a mega corporation. They Disney is a greedy Disney is greedy. There's no other way to say this. So I think to expect that they're gonna continue on with George Lucas's vision is a pipe dream. And we just have to hope that whether they stray from it or come back to it, that they just make good content, because it hasn't been good for the most part. I heard Andor was really good. I just personally I just didn't watch it. I was probably busy, but we just need to get back to making good content, whether it's George Lucas's vision or not. Which leads me to the actual issues. Execution of the idea is absolutely abysmal. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with showing the Jedi as this evil or maybe corrupt organization that has a guise of hope and prosperity and protection. I think that's an interesting angle to play. That's how Anakin essentially saw the Jedi. And of course, he went down his arc of being Darth Vader and then being redeemed. But I mean, some people in the Star Wars universe do view the Jedi like that. So it would have been interesting to see kind of a TV show or some sort of media where we kind of see that through the lens of the show or movie. And technically we did. It just wasn't good. We got to see it in a really unfortunate manner. The twins, with one of them starting off as hating the Jedi, and then in the middle of the show, she just stopped. She was going to turn herself in to the Jedi because her loyalty was to her sister. And then I don't remember, but good twin turns to bad twin at the end, bleeds a kyber crystal in the span of like 30 seconds. Bad sister turns good for some reason. I don't know, power, friendship. It just made no sense. Like none of it made sense. This was actually very similar to the first ever script that I wrote, and it was Star Wars based, and it was about two twins searching for something, and they find out that the Jedi aren't too good, and then the good twin turns bad, and then the bad twin turned good. It's very weird. It's very odd how this script that I wrote at least a year and a half ago just basically turned out to be the Acolyte, which is unfortunate because since it was the first script, it was a bad script. And another thing that's really atrocious about this show, the cinematography for 180 million is like non-existent. I've seen shows with a fraction of this look way better and actually have the cinematography mean something in this story. I don't understand how there's such a big budget and everything just looks like a stage set. There's just so many things wrong, especially technically. It's just things don't look good. The visual effects were a bit iffy depending on how you look at them. And for $180 million, it's just like, where did that money go? It definitely didn't go to a good director or writers. I don't understand how the writers of this show collaborated and all agreed upon it, because you go from this main character who's framed for murdering a Jedi, and then you find out she has a twin and that they're force sensitive and whatever, and then you go on this long goose chase to find this twin. Then all of a sudden the twin wants to turn herself in. Then they go on this wild goose chase for this Sith guy for some, well, I mean, it makes sense, but they oh, and also they're trying to hide this from the Jedi Council this entire time. And then at the end, they find him. All four Jedi that was being hunted died. And then this green Jedi, I don't remember her name. It doesn't matter. Lies to the Jedi Council. And then it ends with a little teaser of Yoda. What a waste of $100 million. Now, how to fix this? You need to get real directors. Please get a real director. I don't know who did this, but do not hire them again. Leslie Handley, is that her name? Was she the director? I don't know. I don't care. Whoever is responsible for this, do not come back. And this also applies to the movies, their features and all that. JJ Abrams, that episode 7, it wasn't bad, but it was safe. There's nothing to write home about. Episode 8, Rian Johnson, I haven't seen a lot of his work. I heard he is a good director. I didn't personally like the sudden shift, especially with killing off Snoke. I thought he was a really good original character. that we were going to learn more about, and then he turns out to die in the middle. And then since Disney wanted to use three different directors for a cohesive trilogy for some reason, they had different ideas and they both executed on those different ideas. And then they didn't like the third guy's for episode 9 idea. So they fired him and then hired J.J. Abrams again, who I still to this day do not understand why Palpatine had to come back. Why couldn't Kylo just be the villain? And if he was to be redeemed, it still could have happened. Palpatine did not need to be in the story. He did not need to return. Never understood that. Never. But here we are. I think we need non-sci-fi directors to do this, to really headline these big Star Wars projects. Because if you have a director that just knows how to make a good story, whether it's sci-fi or not, I think it will translate well. I don't think they need to be a proven sci-fi director, which is I'm assuming that's why they got J.J. Abrams again. But this hurts my soul. I don't know what to tell you. They need to take more time making these things because it's clearly rushed. Who's really running to watch a mediocre Star Wars film anymore? I love Star Wars. I'm going to see whatever movie is in theaters, but there's no it's like cooking without love, you know? It's just not there. And it's a shame because I wish there was. All right, that's it.